I call the honourable member for Hotham.
Deputy Speaker, they say you don't really get to know a government until they've delivered their first budget. And in the last 3 weeks, boy, have we learned a lot about this government. This is one that has pensioners, young people and working families right in the gun. But wealthy women, big polluters and ballet schools will always be the winners with these guys. And nowhere are there more half-truths, more out-and-out lies, more perversities and more contradictions than in the proposed changes to higher education. I listened to this dribble for 5 minutes.
No. Order. Member Herbert, I don't know what you're going to say. I'll ask the member Hotham not to use the word lie, because by imputation it is
I understand, Deputy Speaker. I went a little overboard there. I do apologise. But I will say that there are half-truths, there are perversities, there are contradictions, and no more in the proposed changes to higher education. And we think about winners and losers. I can tell you the losers from this will be the young people who are sitting out there watching this debate today from the gallery. These changes will see universities auctioning their degrees to the highest bidders. The introduction of commercial compound interest rates will see those much higher loans growing every year. Now, what experts are saying is that with the new changes, universities will charge what they are currently charging overseas students today. Overseas students to do a law degree at Sydney University pay $140,000. For a nursing degree at Sydney University, they pay $88,500. The interest rate changes will mean that a student who finishes university with a $45,000 debt will pay $70,000. A woman who finishes her university and goes into a job that isn't particularly high paid may never pay off her loan out of her whole working life. Remember, these changes are being made by a cabinet that we know 12 of them went to university completely for free. It's absolutely perverse. They used their free education to get power and position, and now they're using that for power and position to slam the door in the face of other young people in Australia who want to access those opportunities. Now, we know from what other speakers have talked about that, very unfortunately, but not surprisingly, the biggest impact of these changes is going to be on students from low-income families. I probably shouldn't need to say this, but without equal access to education, all of us are going to lose. The member for Rankin spoke quite eloquently about the need to not try to limit access to university education, but get as many young people in this country to university as we can. Now, the government's argued that young people from low-income families won't be deterred by these huge fees. It's hogwash. It absolutely defies expert opinion and just plain common sense. Even in Australia, a detailed study by Deloitte Access Economics of changes to HECS has shown that where reductions in university demand have happened, they have been almost all from students who have come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Now, I've talked to quite a lot of local principals about the changes, and their frustration is absolutely palpable. And I want to quote one of the local principals who said to me, "The amounts that are being talked about will absolutely scare my students away. For these kids, a sum like $100,000 is a Tats Lotto win. It's an unimaginable amount of money." And they point out to me the pressure that these young people face within their families already to go out and be earning more quickly. They think that these increases in fees will be enough to shift the balance, not just subtly, but a lot. But the biggest impost they point to is the impact this could have on the culture in their schools right down the line. These principals tell me they work so hard to produce environments of excellence and a belief that these students can go on to do anything they want in life. That culture is completely undermined by a university system that will see many of them locked out of tertiary education. Now, the government's argued that there are increases to Commonwealth scholarships, and therefore this, of course, answers the access question. That is staggeringly unfair. Why should only a handful of the best and brightest young Australians from low-income families go to university when students from much wealthier homes will get much broader access to education? In Australia, that's just not how we do things. And I can say that as Labor, we will never tell Australians that the quality of their education depends on their capacity to pay. A country like ours should be a meritocracy, and nothing, aside from your intellect and drive, should determine whether and where you go to university. But that's how things are in Tony Abbott's Australia. If you're a white, privileged male, the government has got your back. But if you're poor, a woman, if you drive a car, if you live in a region, if you're an older Australian, a student, a single mum, and especially if you're a young person, you'd better watch out because these guys are coming for you.
Order. I call the honourable member for Mitchell.
I do want to thank the member for Hotham. I want to thank